So I have a great panel here. My name is Peter, and I have a great panel here that are some awesome professionals, kind of been in the field, in different fields for a long time. They've helped a lot of people out. They've reviewed a lot of resumes, and they have great backgrounds. So I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves to you, and then we'll kind of kick this off. Orlando, you're up.
Yeah, so Orlando Haynes, talent acquisition professional. Been in TA for about 21 years. Currently work for a company called Mosaic as the North American talent acquisition lead, and also host a Career Talks podcast that you can find, shameless plug, on LinkedIn. So connect every Monday night. So I talk about career development.
My name's Ajay Menendez. I am founding Black Tower Academy. It is a subscription-based entry-level cybersecurity zero-to-hero program that I'm launching next year. And I currently train everybody that's going into Lockheed Martin and into Boeing, all of their cybersecurity apprentices. It's what I do in my day job, but I'm going to be doing it for everybody here shortly next year.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kasandra Perez. I'm the Senior Training Strategist at Computer Coach. So we do IT training, upskilling, certification programs, and I spend 50% of my day talking to candidates that are either looking to break into IT or are looking to enhance their tech careers. And the other 50% of my day I spend talking to employers who are looking for talent. And I also have a technical recruitment background.
Hi, my name is Leyla Balaskas. Currently, I'm a Senior Director of Operations over at Jacobs, running roughly 800 people and 200 programs. My background's been 25 years in DoD, starting in talent acquisition and HR, and then worked myself up to running operations in the field and out, so, yeah.
Hey, I'm Kurt Sanger. I spent 23 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, my last 8 with Cyber Command, which is what brought me to this community. I'm a lawyer by trade, but for the past year and a half since I retired from the military, I retired from the military. It's the hardest I've ever worked. I've worked as a consultant, essentially. I've worked across many different fields in cybersecurity, information technology, and met a lot of the types of people who I would guess are in the jobs that you have or would like to have. It appears that I'm going to be joining a law firm, so in some ways, while I wasn't looking for a job full-time over the past year, but in some ways, this is the perfect panel for me to be on because I've been looking for work while doing my own thing for a while.
Excellent.
But hopefully you might have learned something that might be useful.
We appreciate you. And lastly, my name is Peter Bagley. I'm a retired Army guy after 21 years, and I've been retired for almost 20 years. And I teach at St. Pete College. I run my own company for cyber assessments, as well as work as a defense contractor for khaki at SOCOM. So all of us have kind of been around a few days. So I got a few questions we're going to ask the panelists, and they're going to give you their opinion of how they feel about some of these questions we're going to ask, and hopefully something along the way will kind of click with you. And near the end, we're going to have a Q&A side, so we can kind of talk a little bit more if you have some questions. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start with you, Orlando. So the first question is how to work with recruiters and use them for your benefit.
Yeah, so I would tell you the best option, being in the space, is that you partner with at least 2 to 3 agencies. So you can work with agencies as recruiters and talent acquisition professionals. Anyone know the difference between the two? All right, so staffing firms, staffing recruiters, agency recruiters, they work with multiple organizations to find maybe one specific skill set or multiple skill sets. A talent acquisition person only works for the company. So they're not, they're only filling the roles for the company they work for versus, again, a staffing recruiter who may have different companies they partner with. So I would tell you, know the difference before you approach them, but also keep about 2 to 3 staffing firms in your back pocket, because that's free marketing, that's free promotion, that's free, strategies that they can help you connect with different programs, different companies. But again, partner with the ones that match your skill set. Don't just go to anyone. Vet them as they're vetting you, and then be the best candidate, have your best profile, resume ready to go, and just be authentically, straight with them as to what you're looking for. While they're looking, you're still looking. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Right? Let them look for you while you're looking, and just be transparent in your communication. So the best way to do it, again, is to partner with at least 2 to 3 firms that match your skill set. Be be transparent that you're working with all three. They will ask. And then again, do what you need to do on your end to work with, search for jobs as well. Because again, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay. Layla, you want to kind of chime in on this too?
Sure, the working with recruiters.
Yeah,
I
and the
would-
benefit of working with them.
So definitely the benefit, just to Orlando's thought, is to get your name out there, right, and get to know the industry that you're joining, do your research. I would say back in my day when I was recruiting, be held accountable. If the recruiter says call me at 3, call him at 3, and then know your job, know what you want to go after to target. I mean, just my own daughter is currently going to college, and the amount of courses and things that are inside of what you're seeing out there today was not relevant when I was looking for a job. So be targeted, know the industry you want to go into and use them to your advantage. I would say it's a relationship, right? Recruiters is relationship based. Since I've been a recruiter, I've stayed in touch with .NET developers for the past 30 years. So know that could be a relationship that could take you many places, not just one. So that would be my advice.
Good deal.
Jump in
Good.
on that?
Go ahead. Sorry.
So to her point, recruiters don't always stay at the same firm. Okay, whether that's
Correct.
an internal talent acquisition professional that's hiring just for their company, or they work for a staffing firm. And it's a pretty tight-knit community. So as she said, it's all about building relationships. So definitely make sure, the same way that we all complain that recruiters ghost us, don't ghost them. If they have an opportunity for you that you're not interested in, have the conversation. You can graciously decline. But just know that they will be in your life again at some point, whether it's at this firm or at another firm. So make sure it's a mutual. But then the flip side of that is, as far as how to make working with recruiters work for you, the same way that they're on this, and goes more towards that staffing firm recruiter as opposed to talent acquisition, but they have a really good pulse on what's going on in the industry. So ask them information. Hey, what salary are you seeing for the type of roles that I have with my education level and my level of experience?
Yeah.
Because you may be completely off. And we heard, I didn't catch her name, but we heard her say that those heydays of those high salaries, that's not happening anymore. So they have a realistic expectation of what the salary is on the market. Hey, what projects have you heard about that are coming down the pipeline? What's that technology that's 6 months out that I should be focusing on today? Ask them those questions, because they're talking to the employers every single day and they have that information. So don't let it be a one-sided conversation. Make sure that, especially if it's for a role that is not for you, doesn't match your resume, because we see that a lot, make sure that you're getting value out of the time that you're spending with them as well.
Yep. Kurt, you want to chime in?
You all, I think, would know better, but the the staffing agencies, they're getting payment from the companies they hire for.
In most cases.
And some companies don't want to pay that fee, so some companies will not entertain what staffing agencies are offering. So that's just one thing to remember, and if you can find that out about a company you're interested in, if they work with staffing agencies or don't, would be a good one to know. But the other thing I've noticed, so I didn't know anything about this for my military career because we didn't need a staffing agency. It was all internal. But
Correct.
these folks that I know that do this are incredibly gregarious, and yes, they do move. And so their networks are large, and I have yet to meet one who, if I was looking to talk to somebody and they weren't going to make money off it, they still always made the introduction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good.
because it pays for them in the long run.
Yeah, everybody wins. AJ?
I would say treat them like human beings.
Yeah,
You know,
that's good.
they're human beings just like the rest of us. They actually are, for the most part, quite overwhelmed. The amount of things that they have to do and the amount of people they have to talk to and tracking targets, things that they have to follow is a lot. So if they drop the ball, they don't follow up with you, don't take that personally. Just continue to work with them. And, she made a very strong point. Know what your targets are.
Right.
Don't just apply for everything. Go to I want to apply. Narrow your search. You want to be focused, whatever your education is, how you're continuing to educate. Find a target. If you get that role and you don't like that role, well, you can certainly pivot after that. But you've at least tried it on like a piece of clothing. It's the only way to really know.
Yeah.
But you need to target your role. It doesn't help them, recruiters, if you're, I don't know what I want, whatever's out there. Well, they can't really help you, right? So be focused. I would say limit your targets to 1 to 3 types of roles and just kind of focus on that. Be very, very focused. So I thought that was an excellent point.
And when you guys, we'll get your question in a second, sir. And when you do that, do your homework on those roles.
Yes.
So
Talk to people in the field that are doing
that's
it.
the key, because even, and I tell students, you can read certain things in a book all day long, which is great. You kind of get a general idea of how it works, but it doesn't really work until you talk to someone who's working in it, because you'll quickly find out, oh, that may not be what I want to do.
The good,
And that's
bad, the
okay.
ugly.
But rather learn that early than put all this effort into something that you really find out you don't want to do. So do your homework. There's a lot of tools out there from all things. We'll talk about LinkedIn in a second. That's another thing we're talking about. So many different ways to find out. And then people, bless you, are always open to help. I don't think any of us or any people I know I've ever encountered, when someone says, hey, can I just talk to you a little bit about what you do? Sure, why not? Because we went to somebody and asked the exact same question. All right, so don't be afraid. So the next question is about LinkedIn, since everyone knows about LinkedIn. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Just a quick question. How would you deal with staffing firms and recruiters there that I know my role, I target what I'm after, and I'll get 3 or 4 calls from the same half dozen agencies for something completely different. Something I did 20 years ago or just way outside of my scope. It doesn't seem to matter how much you talk to them or explain it. You get a call the next day from the next person on the list trying to get you into the same thing. Is there a way that you can help prevent some of that from happening?
Can I tackle that?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Over and over again. It's kind of been on.
Yeah, so I worked for a firm that runs like that, right? You've got your big firms, and I'm not gonna call any of them out because some of them are here in Tampa, but they run very Wolf on Wall Street. And they are, so my job within that organization was to take kids straight out of college and give them a 2-week learn how to be a recruiter. And by day 3, they were on the phone, and their sole job was to talk to candidates and pick apart your resume. So in many cases, depending on the firm, and I don't want to give all recruiters a bad name, but in many cases, they are trying to find leads from you, okay? You were laid off, maybe, and so they want to know what firm you were with. They want to know what projects they had in the pipeline. They want to know how many people were affected by that layoff, because now I have a talent pool that I can reach out to. So there, in some cases, if your resume is reflective of the roles you're looking for, but you're still getting calls that don't reflect your resume, they're probably phishing. Doesn't mean it's a scam. It doesn't mean that they won't find a good role for you at some point, but it could be some junior recruiters that are still learning the ropes. And so I would tell you, kind of like I said earlier, flip the conversation early on. As soon as you realize that conversation is not for a role that you're interested in, kind of take control of it respectfully and let them know, this is my experience, this is what I'm interested in. Now, if you're getting those calls every single day, I don't know, you gotta answer your phone if you're a job
called
seeker,
block.
but, yeah.
Number.
But candidates recruiters have what they call an MVP, MPC, most placeable candidate. You may not be their MPC today, but you might be their MPC tomorrow because a new rec just came across their desk.
Right.
In my opinion, if you are unemployed, take every phone call that comes your way. The bill collector calls you, ask them if they're hiring. Every phone call that comes in, I would be answering, and I would have those conversations, but make it worth your time. Take control of it early on if you can.
Yeah, good point. And we're going to talk about LinkedIn, and this same conversation ties to LinkedIn as well. So we'll talk about that. So the question about LinkedIn is how to use it for jobs, how to use it for networking, and how recruiters use it to find candidates. So we kind of already got a little bit of that from what Kasandra said. Leyla, you want to jump on that one?
Sure. So again, I go back to targets, right? You want to know what job you're looking for. No one's going to know what job you want other than yourself. So if you want to join Google, research Google. Look at them online. See the type of people that work there in the leadership side, and then down in the departments that you want to join. That would be key for me. Also, I get reached out for mentorships all the time, so reach out to people in those departments and just ask them, are you taking on mentors? This is what I'm looking for.
That's good.
And so when I was a recruiter way back in the day, LinkedIn was just getting started, so I can't talk about how it is now, but what I can say is crosswalking, and I work in the government space, so crosswalking your LinkedIn profile to your school that you went to where you grew up in, gives you a certain target. So just make sure things are correct out there, and definitely make sure your social media is clean and you don't have emails like girlgonewild@yahoo.com.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's as professional as possible. When I first started looking, I loved the Muppets and I had Beaker as my LinkedIn, and the CEO was like, why would I even hire you? So I was like, okay, I get it. So just make sure all your data is very clean, and make sure that your presence online is clean as well, would be
Yeah.
my biggest.
Good stuff. Orlando?
Yeah, I would tell you to understand the power of LinkedIn, right? It's a global platform, #1 platform in the world for business and professionals. So there's about 940 or so billion profiles. Only 3 million are active. So what they constitute being active on the platform is making a post once a week. So I'm going somewhere with that. That means these are the folks that are being seen, regardless of what their mission is. If they're entrepreneurs, salespeople, career people, they're being seen the most at some point throughout their activities, because it's a small portion who is actually active on the platform. There is no other platform that will give you the global reach. I can reach Dubai, Singapore, China in a matter of seconds and connect with a peer. You got to understand how powerful that is to globalize your network and understand different business strategies and career strategies that can help you. You don't have to be connected only to US people to learn what you need to learn to strategize and grow your platform. But I think what I teach about too is there's a difference between building a presence and building a profile.
That's good.
Your profile is static, where you're not making any activities. You just have what you have on there, your photo, headshot, banner, jobs. Again, the activity makes the transition. Your goal as a job seeker is to provide and get eyeballs to your profile as much as possible. One way to do that is create content. You can do it by many ways, many strategies. If you want to comment on stuff that relates to your field, so your voice is heard, so they see your methodology of thinking, right? Another strategy is commenting on a company's page that you want to partner with. Any projects they're putting out there, comment and share your ideas and advice, and give the kudos to them. But you have to be active on that platform. You have to grow your personal brand so people see you. You can get all the certifications in the world. You're looking at some of your peers, your competition. What's going to make you stand out? One of the strategies, again, is on LinkedIn, is being creative and putting content on the profile that will grow your thought leadership a little bit, but your personal branding. But again, views to your profile creates opportunity. I call VCO. Visibility creates opportunity.
Yes, sir.
The more you're seen, the more people are going to say, hey, Joe, Mike, they look like they might know what they're talking about because they're sharing content, they're adding, comments to our page. Maybe that's a candidate we need to talk to. You just never know.
Good.
Create a cadence of creating content on there. Don't have to be super creative, but be consistent is the key. I think that's just one core strategy a lot of job seekers miss, is creating content on the profile so they can create visibility.
That's good.
Yeah.
AJ?
I would say that LinkedIn is very powerful. So if somebody's applying to my company or if I'm applying to their company, they're going to look at my profile. They're going to see who I'm connected with. They're going to see who I know. So to a degree, there's the relationships matter, and you want to build and nurture those relationships. I want to encourage everybody, and sometimes in cybersecurity we have a lot of introverts. We may not want to go outside or meet people. I really want to encourage everyone to go to cybersecurity meetups. You're at one right now.
Yeah.
You want to go to ISC Squared, you want to go to ISACA, you want to go to ISSA, you want to go to Cloud Security Alliance, you want to go to OWASP, you want to meet people, especially if these individuals are doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you want to say, hey, can I talk to you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Can I pick your brain? How did you start? How did you get there? What sucks about your job? What's amazing about your job?
that's true.
What are the challenges? May I connect with you on LinkedIn? And, Peter was talking about people in cybersecurity are, oh my gosh, you like cybersecurity too? Info dump, right? They love to help people because you love what they love, and it's really important. So by building these relationships, right, this is also very directly associated to jobs. There's something in social psychology, I happen to have a psychology degree. There's something known as the law of propinquity. Don't take my word for it, go look it up. Right? The law of propinquity means the closer you are to somebody, the greater likelihood that they will like you and trust you. Two very important things that you need to obtain employment.
That's good.
So the rub is, right, the fulcrum of this is you just can't have a negative experience. So don't show up and be a jerk, right? No flipping tables, no being upset, right?
No
No getting
WWE.
overly drunk. But all you have to do is show up, right? So if you show up to an ISACA meeting, then you show up to an ISC Square meeting, then you show up to a Cloud Security Alliance meeting, hey, this person's part of the clique. They're in the club, like
Right.
they're following around. That really helps, and you want to meet as many people as you can, grow your network, and then I really, to wrap it up, you don't want to walk up to somebody and say, can I have a job? Right? You don't want to put them on the spot, right? But you kind of want to communicate with them, hey, I'm really interested in doing what you're doing, or I'm really interested in this type of role. Do you know somebody that might be? So you're letting them know, but not putting them on the spot, right? But you're being very social, right? So it's a little bit of a keto, right, if you will, mental keto. But it's just, don't be a jerk. Be happy, be interested, be curious. There's so much that you can do, but it wraps back to LinkedIn because you're growing your network. And that network, like they talked about before, maybe not this time, but maybe the next time or down the road, you're not just applying to the outside job requisition.
Right.
Maybe they really like you and they'll say, I'll give you the internal requisition, or I'll make the recommendation for you, which gets you around the great HR firewall,
Yeah, that's
right?
good.
Super impactful.
That's a good way to put it. Cassie, we'll come back to you, 'cause I know you do a lot of stuff on it. Kurt.
And so we were talking just before. So there was a particularly cutthroat Major League Baseball manager who once said, "Winning isn't everything; it's the only thing." I think you can say that pretty much about networking. Networking isn't everything;
Yeah.
it's the only thing.
That's good.
Microsoft, Amazon, they do hire people that introduce themselves to the companies through their websites. It happens. I consider it a long shot. It's just based on the numbers. But it does happen. So there are some people who will find jobs that way. But really, for almost everyone else, it's going to be someone you know. And one thing about LinkedIn in particular, when you connect with someone on LinkedIn and you get to know them in some other way, a phone call, meeting them in person, running into them at a conference, or just telling them, hey, I saw you speak at a conference, they are going to make their networks available to you more likely than not. A number of times somebody said to me, hey, check out my profile, look who I'm connected to, and let me know if you want to speak to any of them. Some of these people have thousands of contacts, so it's hard to find the people that would probably be most valuable to talk to. But the networks grow exponentially through the people that you meet.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is an easy way. I got active on LinkedIn right before COVID kicked in. And so I was there when people started using it a lot more, and I got caught up in, it was nice for me as I was getting ready to start a new career that so many more people were using it actively. But I think it's only grown since
Oh, yeah.
2020,
Whole lot.
and everybody can benefit from that.
Yeah. Cassie.
Yes, I'm gonna play devil's advocate just a little. Everything that they have said is absolutely valid. LinkedIn is incredibly powerful and it should absolutely be part of your career success strategy. That being said, it is incredibly overwhelming at the moment. If you are a mentor, a leader, a recruiter, a person of influence, and I'm not talking about social media influencers, but if you are a decision maker that has the ability to bring somebody up, I get easily 30 to 40 inbox messages per day. That's not including the spam, okay? So I talk about LinkedIn in a way that have realistic expectations. He said earlier, don't take it personal. We have the Q-tip that we recommend. We literally tell job seekers, it's incredibly difficult if you're a job seeker who's unemployed to stay positive. And so one of the things that we recommend is carry a Q-tip around with you, because and anytime you start to feel deflated, look at it, it stands for quit taking it personal, because it's not. We have a million and one things we're trying to do. And to Pete's point earlier, yes, people want to help, and that's genuine and it's authentic, but then the wind blows. Okay, and something else has come up in their life. So it's not that they didn't want to help you.
Right.
Something else has happened. So I like to say have very realistic expectations of your return on, hey, can I have a 15-minute virtual coffee with you? Hey, can I talk to you and do an interview with you about how you got into your job? Do those things. They're not incredibly time intensive for you to do them, so do them. Just have a realistic expectation of the return that you're gonna get. Some highly targeted things that you can do on LinkedIn. We know that statistically speaking, it is manager level and above professionals who read articles on LinkedIn. So start writing articles, give your voice words, and it's decision makers who are likely to read those articles, okay? You can start today with 3 things I learned at B-Sides Tampa, if you're not a writer. With ChatGPT, we're all writers, okay? But make sure it's your authentic voice. So write articles. Also, if you are a job seeker, we all have those 50 skills that we can put on our LinkedIn. 1, make sure you're utilizing all 50. But 2, especially for the more seasoned professionals, make sure that wasn't a set it and forget it function on your LinkedIn profile. If you have skills from 5 years ago that are no longer relevant to the roles you're pursuing today, even if you have 100, endorsements, right? We used to be able to endorse those skills. That means nothing. Drop the old skill, make sure it's 50 current skills, and then look at 10, 15, 20 job descriptions that you are qualified for. I want to emphasize that everything we're talking about today assumes you're applying to jobs that you're qualified for. So look at 10, 15 job descriptions that you're qualified for. All of those job descriptions are gonna have 10 skill sets that they want you to match. You've probably all gotten a notification on LinkedIn that says you meet 4 of the 10 skills this job is looking for, please apply. Those are set. We spent an entire period of time, I don't remember, following a recruiter who has access to LinkedIn Recruiter, which is very different than the version of Recruiter that you and I have, or LinkedIn that you and I have. And so when they're building out their recs on LinkedIn, they tell what 10 skills that they're looking for. Those 10 skills are directly responding to the 50 skills on your profile. So go and look, 10, 15 job descriptions, throw up an Excel spreadsheet, throw it in ChatGPT, and tell it, give me the most common, the most recurring 50 skills in these 150 skills at this point. Make sure those are the 50 skills you have on your LinkedIn profile, assuming you have the skill. And then, to Orlando's point, you have to become a thought leader on LinkedIn. So you're writing articles, you're writing thought-provoking posts, have a call to action. What are your thoughts? Tell me what you learned. What did you think about this hack? Whatever it may be, right? The goal is to create a conversation, not just put flat content that people are gonna read, like, and move on. You wanna create a conversation. To his point, I forget what the rule was called, but the general rule of thumb on LinkedIn is 7 points of contact. I need to see you 7 times before I consider you part of my trusted network. You liked my comment, you followed my company's page, you connected with me, you sent me a LinkedIn message, you shared a post that I did, whatever. 7, or I saw you on my feed, 7 times before I consider you part of my network, and I recognize you.
Right.
So make sure that you're being intentional with the things that you're doing. And just one last thing.
Go ahead.
If you are a job seeker who is frustrated with the job seeker process, with the hiring process, with the fact that you are getting a black hole, LinkedIn is not the place to tell the world about it. LinkedIn is the place to be positive Pat, okay? We don't want negative Nellies, okay? If you are so brazen to be on LinkedIn complaining, you are going to be complaining on my team. I don't want you on my team.
Yep.
So please be incredibly thoughtful, and even if it's true, okay, don't engage in those conversations, because every recruiter is going to go and vet your resume by looking at you on LinkedIn, and they're going to your posts and your activities. So I can see if you like somebody else's post complaining about a recruiter. Don't like it, don't engage, don't share it, and don't post it.
Yeah. All great comments, and I'm going to wrap this piece up. LinkedIn is a huge community. Our business is community. Because as they've all stated, if people don't know you, they don't know what you're looking for. So you have to create a presence for yourself. One of the things that is a great tool for, and I use it all the time, I've learned about different things about these guys and different things they have going on. Like I knew Orlando had a podcast. So if I want to tie into his podcast, now I can tie into his podcast. And then I can send him an invite and say, hey, love your podcast. Can we connect? Because you want to connect. Because everyone has their own network. But if you think if each one of us have 1,000 people in our network and you connect with one, you just extended all this as well. So that's how the system works for you. Secondly, you're going to have people fishing on LinkedIn all the time. They do it. I mean, they fish all over the place, right? But you don't have to accept it. That's the other thing. Do not accept everybody who asks you to make a contact with them. You don't have to. You have the authority and the right to say no. And that's okay. I do it all the time. Because what I'll do first, someone says, hey, let's connect. Okay. First thing I'll do is go look at how much have they posted. 0. Oh, then we can have a great conversation, right? I don't think so. Right? And I say that because that's a waste, as we said, of my time. Some people also contact and say, hey, look, I saw you. LinkedIn said that I need to connect with you, and maybe we can have some coffee. Okay, that's great too. Then I'll go back and look at their profile. If it's not anything that I feel that's beneficial to me or something I can be helpful with to them, I'll kindly just say, not accept. Ignore. And you're okay doing that. You can go to sleep at night and say, I didn't hurt anybody. I just protected what I do. And that's really what it's all about. It's all about you. It ain't
He's
about
a
them.
cybersecurity professional. I accept all.
You know, she does, but I'm in a different realm. And it'd be a lot of pieces of this ties back to what you do or what you want to do. Because if someone that's a dressmaker, nothing against everybody dressmaker? Okay, nothing against dressmakers, contact me, someone's in cyber, oh, LinkedIn said we need to connect and I'd love to talk to you about what you do. Okay, but there's nothing really happening there, right? I mean, I'm just being honest. So why should I say, sure, come on, I'm just trying to extend my network. That's a waste of time and a waste of space. When I can find someone who really can communicate with me, I can communicate with them and we can grow together. So keep that in mind. Never be afraid to say no. All right? I know y'all heard that before somewhere else, but this time, say no. All right? Lastly, if you see things going on LinkedIn, like we talked about here, the meetup groups, go to them. Sign up for them. They're all over. And especially if you're following people like us and many other people that we know, it's always something going on. Wherever you are, there's an event going on. Some may be meeting at a bar, there's a restaurant, and just getting together and having, a beer or a Coke and just communicating, chatting. That's okay because they know you exist. And you never know what someone else's network looks like. So don't be afraid to approach. All right, so last one, because we're going to have to wrap this up. I didn't think we were going to go so long, but this is great stuff. I think I want to talk about money. Ooh. Everybody like, ooh. The salary question. How to discuss salary for a new position or trying to get promoted from your current position. Who wants to take that?
I'll start with
Go ahead.
So if you're dealing with a recruiter and you're trying to find out, let me take a step back. I think all recruiters should discuss salary in the first conversation at the same time. Right?
Yes.
They should be telling you where your salary band is. And they're trying to probably lock you down, right? For the most part, if it's no matter what the role is, they're gonna wanna lock you down at the lower end, right? So they have room for bandwidth and promotions and things like that for the department. But if they're trying to lock you down for, a specific salary before you know the full scope, I would say, well, I'm in the range of X, say 100,000 to 115, but can we revisit this conversation once I know more about the scope of the work?
That's good.
Because I can change, right? They're writing down 110. go through, you're like, wow, this is a lot more than what I expected. And a role can probably really have a budget for 140. You've lost, X amount of thousands of dollars. So always clearly state that, okay, I'll give you a number now, but please take note as you're taking the number, we're gonna revisit this once I learn a little bit more about the position, because if the scope is larger, then, my request for money gets larger because it's requiring more of me to match my skill level.
Yeah.
Right, so you have the room to negotiate. There's some roles that is non-negotiable. It is what it is. But if you can get the salary from the recruiter on the first conversation, go for it, but be prepared to have that conversation, right? Know your walkaway number. You
Yeah.
can say 150, but 130 supports your lifestyle, right? Do make sure you're clearly knowing that in your head. But again, if you come across recruiters that are a little resident, or should I say restrictive in giving you the salary up front, right? That's a case by case, feel that out, see what they're doing. If they're asking you, you can, again, bring that up, say, well, you're asking me for my salary. I don't know what the scope of the work is or the salary band for the role. If I can better understand that, then we could probably meet in the middle. But keep in mind, I want to revisit until I learn more about the position. And so that, I think that keeps the lines of communication open. And even if you're talking to the manager, you go to the next step and the manager is asking you about the salary, keep repeating it. Keep repeating it so you're not locked down on the lower end.
That's good stuff.
So you understand the full scope. Yeah.
Anyone else want to jump in? Good.
No, go first. Okay, I'll just go first. My biggest pet peeve is still today is it's not a game, right? It's your salary. So don't make it like, well, what can you give me or this, right? Again, it goes back to your research of the position that you're applying for. Look at salary.com, look at your demographic area. If you're entry level and you're asking for 150,000, also know the candidate pool you're up against and that there's 15 other people right behind you and the person can just go to the next one. So I've always led in my 25 years, and Pete knows this, just be honest.
Yeah.
What can you afford to get a salary? And know if you're starting out in your career, you'll be at that 150. You need experience. So for me, it was just be honest, and it's not a game. That was
Yeah.
my biggest factor in salary and the negotiation of the hourly rate going back and forth. It's like, it is what it is, just take it or leave it. That was my
So
biggest.
true. Yeah. Good.
So as a career coach, we talked earlier about knowing the difference between an internal talent acquisition professional and a recruiter. So to what Orlando was talking about is more on that internal talent acquisition. They're gonna have a pay band. Your recruiter should know what the approved budget is because any company that's hiring has to get this stuff approved in advance before they should even be talking to you.
Correct.
So if they don't, it's a red flag and you may be able to take control of that situation. But in any case, that is internal talent acquisition. You need to know who you're talking to. Are you with a staffing firm or are you TA? Because if you're with a staffing firm, that recruiter's commission is directly tied to your total compensation package. They're getting you the most that they possibly can, as opposed to an internal talent acquisition professional just trying to get you for the least that they possibly can because they're trying to save their company money. On the flip side, for a staffing firm, if you're doing an hourly, they're trying to get you on the lowest possible because they're charging the client $50 an hour, they're paying you $20 an hour, they're making $30 an hour. So the least amount of money they can get you is where they're trying to be. So it's incredibly important to understand who you're talking to, what type of role this is, how that money is gonna be paid, and keep in mind total compensation. I think people get held up on the 150. Companies talk in terms of total compensation. There's a lot of monetary value in an unlimited PTO, in healthcare benefits, in, you know what? You can't pay me 150, even though I feel that's what I'm worth, I'll take the 130, but I want a different job title, right? Because that job title is gonna give me career progression. Now I get lead as part of my job title. So there are a lot of things, pay bands are what they are, and a lot of times for companies, they have a budget, they're not gonna go outside that budget, but figure out ways to make that work for you. We're always thinking long-term, or we should be. So if you can negotiate a new title, but still take a lower pay, you know that title is gonna get you more money in the future. If you can negotiate a hybrid working environment, so you're not having to commute. I drive over an hour to get to work. That's money. If they have paid parking. Anybody who works in downtown Tampa knows what a pain in the ass it is to park. I worked for a firm that charged me $200 a month to park in their parking garage, right? I didn't know that, and I could have negotiated that as part of my salary. So there are a lot of things that you can negotiate. Sometimes that bottom dollar is non-negotiable, but all of the other perks that make your job enjoyable are negotiable. So start thinking in terms of total compensation. Really quick on the raises, I think it's important to know the difference between a raise and a promotion. A raise is, look, you hired me here, my job now constitutes this pay, I think I should be paid this much, but I'm gonna do the exact same job. Versus a promotion, which is, I'm gonna take on some additional tasks and responsibilities, and for that I would like to be compensated in such a manner. So you have to figure out what you're asking for, and then you have to document what you do. So if you know in 3 months you're gonna ask for a raise, time block your time for the next 3 months. Document every single thing that you do in a day, from the smallest task to the biggest, most impactful task. Start quantifying, start coming up with how you're improving things, achievements. Do that, and then pull up your original job description. And say, this is what you hired me for,
That's good.
but this is what I'm doing. So can we reevaluate my compensation at this point?
Okay, Kurt?
And just look on that point, connect everything you're doing to the value that it gives the organization. 'Cause that's how they think. It's not just, it's nice you're doing all these things, but how is that turning into money or convenience or something of benefit to them? So I negotiated my salary. I think I mentioned at the beginning that law firm may be joining. I'll know Monday if my negotiation was successful. But it's, I'm coming from a unique community, so that firm, and this may only be applicable to lawyers, but I think the point will dovetail to yours. When they hire laterally, they normally do it from other firms, and they have a template for what that individual looks like. I'm coming from the military, so that I don't fit their template. So they offered me a salary that I thought was based on the template that they normally have, and I explained why they have to break that template and think about other variables. Some of you may be in that position in the technology field because you may have more than one skill. The job you're applying for may only require one of those skills, but you may be able to bring other things to the company. You may have other experiences. Your network even may be of value to them because even though you're not in sales, you know people that may be in a buying position. You know, whatever those things are. And again, you want to list out what all those things you're going to do will be, and then how that's going to create value for their company. Because I mean, one of the things that's coming in that I mentioned that isn't typical for an attorney is I say, hey, I'm going to be able to train the younger folks to do the kind of work that only a few people are doing for you right now. They don't really count that because they just want you to bring in business and bill hours, right? But that is going to have value for them. It did have an impact on the negotiation.
AJ, want to wrap up?
Yeah, these are all amazing points, and I was trying to figure out how I can come up with something unique and provide value to the conversation. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to focus the perspective on people starting in cybersecurity or in a cybersecurity conference. So let's talk about people getting started. The first job you get in cybersecurity is going to be the hardest, period. It's going to be the hardest. It's almost like you need to be in the union to get the job, and you have to have that job to be in the union. So how do you ever get started? It's a little crazy, right? So you're going to want to get started whatever that looks like, right? And that may mean if you're a career changer, taking a haircut or taking a step back, whatever phrase you want to use, you'll do what you have to get started to get experience. Now, once you're 1 year or 2 years in the role, the salary acceleration is going to, woof, it's going to be intense. A lot of people might be reaching out to you in LinkedIn, hey. So as you go along, it's going to be a completely different experience. So it may not feel great starting at a pretty entry-level experience pay-wise. I don't want to say that's the cost of the payment or that's the way, right? The obstacle is the way to get to that. But once you break through that level of challenge, the ceiling, the artificial ceiling that a lot of other positions, and I'll be slightly contrarian to the previous speaker, the ceiling to these roles will be greater than a lot of the other roles that you may have had. And I've seen people, you know, someone with a master's degree in recreation science, don't really know what that is, but she was in charge of a convention center and the organizing or whatever, and she had a hard limit, and it had nothing to do with her gender or whatever, but a hard limit of $80,000. And she went through my program, and then her next spot was 50, which was significantly less. So it's a very large ratio drop. But within 2 years, she was right back where she was, but now she's in six figures. And you know, her first job was a cybersecurity threat hunter at Dish Network there in Denver, Colorado. So you're gonna do what you need to get started. And it may be challenging at the beginning, and that's just the hurdle that you have to get through. So the obstacle is the way.
All right, I'm going to close this out because we got to get out of here. We got another group coming in. Just understand, everyone has to start somewhere, even if you are an already seasoned professional. And I say that because my theory is a job with a paycheck is better than an unemployment check that has no benefits. Again, I'm just being very realistic and honest. So if you just got let go, it happens in our field, in the DoD environment all the time. Contracts start, contracts end. Everything has shelf life. So you kind of get hardened to, well, this is just how the process works. And it was happening even before you got into it. So you can't be hurt by it. You figure out, like they were saying, how does it work for me to where I can benefit the most? The networking is a big part of it, but even if you have to come back in, or even start as a tier 1 help desk person, maybe making $35,000, $40,000 a year. Now, I'm just being honest. Take it. Take it. Why? You don't have a job. You don't have any benefits. Your family needs help. So what are you going to do? Let your ego take over your family, or are you going to go take care of business? Knowing I'm not going to be there next year. My theory I always live off of, and thank God I've been able to continue to drive with this, everything I do in business and jobs are temporary. Never permanent. Why? You don't own it. You're just a number that is satisfying a need. And the only reason why they pay any of us to do what we do today, because we have something they want. The minute you don't, you're gone. So make sure you continue to have something that people want. And you can get all that information, like I said, from LinkedIn, LinkedIn Jobs, Indeed. All those tools are out there for you. Go and look and see, well, what does it take to be a network engineer, if that's your goal. But you may not start there. You may come in as a junior. That's okay. But you'll learn. And you'll meet people. Networking, right? And 2 years later, you're running the shop. It happens all the time. All right? With that, I'm not going to forget about, where did Matt go? Okay, we got another group coming in. I got one question I'll take. Anybody got a question? Yes, sir.
You were mentioning, like, to take any position you can get, right? But it's kind of to the point where, like, you can help get a job, don't reach out unless you have, like, 2 years experience. What do you do in that scenario?
So experience is a term that really doesn't mean anything. And I say that for one reason. In our field in IT and cybersecurity, experience doesn't mean you worked in a job and you did a thing. Experience can be you set up a AWS lab that you have with Kali Linux and you use a Metasploit to take down the system. You're physically going through hands-on actions and commands to do that. That's experience.
Right, so like I put on my resume, like, CTF experience.
All those things, and that's the whole thing. Don't sell yourself short. If you're doing these things, put them on your resume.
Yeah, you have a 2.4% chance of getting a job if all you do is apply online. Get off the computer and get out to stuff like this. That's
Yes.
how you're going to find a job.
Yes. Yep.
So you know.
Well, hi, if you have any positions.
What's your name? What's
All right,
your name?
guys.
Jared.
Jared.
She's going to catch you outside, Jared. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.